at the whim of a virtue-signaling private elite. This all...
Hey everybody, welcome to I Can't Play Guitar. My name is Jamie and I can't play guitar. If you're watching this, this is the channel where live we're going to watch some of our favorite current internet videos and then, maybe play guitar. We did actually broadcast earlier today when we did some guitar lessons. I got a notice that it had a copyright strike takedown, so it's probably not going to be up. I haven't checked yet, but if you're joining us now, that's pretty cool. It's Father's Day today, so if you're a father, happy Father's Day. And we are going to watch let's see what we got queued up here. Philly D. Let's do it.
Hey, it is Sunday, you beautiful bastards. My name is Joey Cannoli, of course, of Joey Cannoli's Gym and Eatery, where muscles meet marinara. Your go-to destination, whether you pump in iron or you want pasta al dente. I'm losing the accent. Hi, welcome to the show. Given the recent changes in the way that I dress, my wife has started to call me Joey Cannoli, so I gave him a backstory. We got pasta carbonara that'll make your taste buds sing like a canary. All right, I'm done with that idiocy. I'm gonna stop wasting some of your Sunday, and let's talk about some news,
Phil.
shall we? Starting
Happy
with
Father's
such a
Day,
just
buddy.
crazy and sad story. So there's a 76-year-old woman in Ecuador, and she apparently suffered a stroke, went to the hospital, and she died. And so ultimately, you have the situation where her relatives gather in a funeral home to mourn her passing at a vigil before burying her.
Yes,
but about
very
5
sad.
hours into the service, when they open up the coffin to change her clothes ahead of the funeral, she gasps for air. And understand this is not like the plot of a zombie movie. She bites someone's neck. This was real life. She was alive, which obviously a traumatizing shock for the family. Her son describing it, saying, "My mom started to move her left hand to open her eyes, her mouth. She struggled to breathe." And so in this panic, they call 911.
Dude, traumatizing is an understatement. Holy shit.
The firefighters lift her out of the coffin onto a stretcher. They rush straight back to the same hospital that declared her dead. And her son, at the time,
Why would you go back?
She's
Oh,
responsive,
probably the only
receiving
one.
intensive care. So honestly, I don't know if you can ever go back to normal after experiencing something like this. And so
Right.
obviously, while a lot of people are preoccupied just wishing this woman the best, you also have people going, how the hell did the doctor make this mistake? Right? They declared her dead. She had a death certificate. The reports have noted that when cases like this happen, it's often two things. Either one, the patient is so cold, the heart rate is imperceptibly slow, or two, drugs slow down the body's processes to give the appearance of death. Which is why I just want to say to my friends and family, if it ever seems like I am dead, just give me a day. Make sure it's not one of these situations or I'm just like being dramatic. And then, so Conor McGregor has been accused of sexual assault again. With this alleged encounter happening after Game 4 of the NBA Finals in Miami, ESPN obtaining a legal letter where a woman says that McGregor violently forced himself on her while in the VIP men's bathroom, claiming he aggressively kissed her before attempting to force her to perform multiple sexual acts. The woman there also accusing Miami Heat and NBA security of aiding McGregor by separating her from her friend and forcing
was
her
this
into
after
the
he
bathroom.
fucking
At the time of
already
this recording,
punched
the Miami
out
Police
the,
Department told ESPN it is investigating
mascot?
the report that was filed on Sunday, but gave no further details. Also with this, you had TMZ obtaining footage that seemed to show McGregor leading the alleged victim to the bathroom. And while from this lone angle at the time of recording, it's hard to see specifics. At the very least, it does appear as though McGregor grabs her by the hand and walks her there as she trails behind him. Now, for his part, McGregor has denied the allegations via his attorney, who said that the claims are false and Mr. McGregor will not be intimidated. You also had the NBA and the Heat responding to the accusation, saying they were working together to get more information, holding further comment pending the results of an investigation. UFC as well, saying it is aware of the situation, but waiting for the legal process to play out. So for now, we're gonna have to wait to see what other information comes out and what it shows us. And then, the Reddit blackout we saw this week may be resulting in things we didn't expect, with CEO Steve Huffman telling NBC News that he's actually considering changing the site's moderation policies amid the blackout. Right? If you're the worst, you didn't watch my shows this week, for some background, thousands of Reddit forums went dark earlier this week in protest of the company's new policy to charge third-party developers to use its API, which is currently free. And that protest was initially slated to last 48 hours, but many subreddits have extended that indefinitely, making that choice after Huffman sent a memo out kind of dismissing the protest as something that's just going to pass. And so tons of mods saw that and they were like, hey, no, fuck you, no, double fuck you. The blackout's continuing. And
I don't know. I'm gonna turn this off. I don't know if anyone that's watching would concur, but the blackout, I Google and often the results hit upon Reddit, and it lasted just a few days. Didn't turn me off to Reddit. I'm pretty sure Google's going to redirect me to Reddit very soon, so it's unfortunate because this guy sounds like a real bag of shit.
As of Friday, while 80% of subreddits
The CEO,
are up,
that
major
is.
ones like r/aw and r/video are still down. And amid all that, you have Huffman doubling down and continuing to talk.
Doubling down, I am a piece of
one
shit.
where he essentially said that he
Fuck all
plans on
y'all.
implementing a system where Reddit users can overthrow moderation, saying it would be more democratic to let users vote out moderators if their decisions are not well received, arguing that it would be easier to hold mods accountable in this way, because as it stands now, the only way a mod can get ousted is if a higher ranking mod does it, or if Reddit takes action for inactivity or rules violations. With Huffman arguing, if you're a politician or a business owner, you are accountable to your constituents. So a politician needs to be elected and a business owner can be fired by its shareholders. And I think on Reddit, the analogy is closer to the landed gentry. The people who get there first get to stay there and pass it down to their descendants, and that is not democratic. Although with that, you have people arguing, yes, Reddit mods have a ton of power, but it can be argued that the power is earned because mods often put hours and hours of free unpaid labor into the subreddit, which is why some have said that this could result in even more backlash. With some arguing there is no parallel between Reddit mods and landed gentry. Landed gentry did not do labor. Mods do labor for free. Though notably here, as of recording, Huffman hasn't given a timeline regarding when this would be implemented. He did, however, speak more about the ongoing protests, saying that in efforts to make the website more democratic, it is important that, quote, protests now or in the future are actually representative of their community, and claiming that he thinks this, quote, may have been the case for many at the beginning of this week, but that's less and less the case as time goes on. And saying to NPR, it's a small group that's very upset and there's no way around that. We made a business decision that upset them. But I think the greater Reddit community just wants to participate with their fellow community members. And when talking to The Verge, he refused to back down on the API pricing, saying, that's our business decision and we're not undoing that business decision. And then, the right-wing boycott against Bud Light, it has seemed effective based off of stuff we've seen on social media, but actually this week we learned how effective it's been because Bud Light is no longer America's top-selling beer. Because after all the boycotting following Bud Light working with trans influencer Mulvaney, over the month of May, Modelo overtook Bud Light as the best-selling beer in the country, taking up 8.4% of retail beer sales compared to 7.3% for Bud Light. And that is very significant.
Get some
because
Modelo.
if you look back
Who
to
cares?
just March, Bud Light was significantly ahead of Modelo, making up for 10% of retail beer sales at that time. Now, that said, how long this dip is going to last, we're going to have to wait to see. Because if you look at the whole year, Bud Light's still the top dog.
Oh, fuck. Sorry about that.
It for international, and a different company owns it for the United States. And then, Iowa State Supreme Court just upheld abortion protections in the state, issuing a 3-3 decision on Friday that upheld a previous ruling from a district court that blocked a restrictive abortion ban. Right, that law would have banned abortion after a heartbeat is detected, which usually happens around 6 weeks, which is before most people even know they're pregnant. The district court shooting the ban down, but Republican Governor Kim Reynolds fighting to get the court to reconsider it, and after some legal back and forth, oral arguments were heard in April. And all that leading to Friday's decision, which upheld the previous ruling on procedural grounds, claiming that Reynolds' appeal was made too late. So notably, that does mean that lawmakers will have the ability to draft up another restrictive abortion ban should they choose. And with that, they likely will, because Reynolds issued a statement slamming the court's decision and adding that the fight is not over. But at least for now, abortions in Iowa remain legal up to the 20th week of pregnancy. And Ruth Richardson, the president and CEO of Planned Parenthood North Central States, releasing a statement saying today's order is an enormous win and it means that Iowans will be able to control their bodies and their futures. But again, this may just be temporary as lawmakers are likely to take another stab at it. And then summer's here, which means it's finally time to dig out your warm weather clothes. But also, honestly, how many of those go-to pieces are old, stretched out, they're faded from last season? I ask because today's sponsor, True Classic, they want to hook you beautiful bastards up. They have classic t-shirts, active tees, button-ups, polos, jeans, chinos, pretty much everything that you need for the summer, all super affordable and built to last. They're incredibly soft, tagless, super lightweight, breathable, so they don't make you sweat even in the hottest summer months. And very importantly, but often overlooked, they hold their own in the wash. I'm talking wash after wash after wash. And they offer 3-packs, 6-packs, even 9-packs with tons of color combinations to choose from. But you definitely can't go wrong with a classic black tee for summer. And a really huge thing for me is that True Classic fits you in all the right places. It's got that tighter fit in the arms and chest, so you can, flex a little. But also, it's got this like tapered, loose fit in the midsection.
You're just trying to show off. You're just trying to show your body off.
Super easy, especially when Lynn springs last-minute dinner plans on me. Also, I know that when I say last-minute dinner plans, she told me 5 times. I just forgot because I suck like that. But seriously, the True Classic tees are my go-to. So if you beautiful bastards are looking for more affordable quality clothing that lasts, go to trueclassictees.com/Phil and use my promo code Phil25. You'll get 25% off your order plus free shipping. True Classic. It's anything but basic. And then, it's not a secret that companies will often prioritize profits over the safety and well-being of their employees. Right, that's not breaking news. But this story, it goes beyond that. Because we're talking about people facing neurological issues from working with elements necessary for the development of electric vehicles. And then more importantly, how their health problems have gone completely ignored by the industry. Because as many don't know, as EVs have gotten more popular, automakers have turned to manganese. It's a relatively cheap and common metal to stabilize supply chains and make EVs more affordable. And this isn't some minor thing. Demand for manganese has quintupled over the last 5 years, with analysts predicting growth by another 9-fold by 2030. Unfortunately, working with manganese comes at a cost.
Not familiar with manganese.
High-level exposure to manganese can result in a variety of neurological problems. And in South Africa, which is the world's largest producer of manganese, we're seeing these concerns playing out with dozens of miners and smelters. With local researchers and doctors finding that these workers have experienced memory loss and shaking, some smelters can't even walk in a straight line anymore, and many never having even received a warning of the danger, and the few that vocalize their concerns just say they were ignored. But also, this is a key thing. This is not a new situation. We're not talking about some new magic element that was just discovered. Manganese poisoning has been discussed as far back as the 1830s, when people exposed to the metal were losing strength in their legs, struggling with speech, and their faces were getting paralyzed. And as more research on the condition was done, it was dubbed manganism, or sometimes manganese madness, caused by inhaling or ingesting manganese, where it's then deposited in the part of the brain controlling movement and balance. Now, notably, with the development of technology and labor regulations, full-blown cases of manganism are fairly rare these days. But now in its place, and what's very, very common, are for those exposed to experience quieter symptoms like forgetfulness, irritability, stiff joints, and slow movement. But also because those symptoms are more subtle, they're harder to diagnose. So notably, when a neurologist examined almost 200 manganese miners in a mining town in South Africa, more than a quarter of them exhibited these symptoms, which of course were associated with lower quality of life. But also massively important, monitoring for and researching manganese poisoning in South Africa is not common, with doctors typically avoiding the conversation altogether when possible. For example, you have people like this one employee who spent years blowing manganese dust out of air conditioners. He goes to the doctor, he gets diagnosed with Parkinson's despite his symptoms not matching with Parkinson's and the treatment for it not working, with it taking him having to go out of town to see a different doctor who had previously spoken out about manganism to get the correct diagnosis. And now, a decade later, his hand-eye coordination has deteriorated to the point that he can't even hand his wife a cup of coffee without spilling it. And with that saying, how long is it going to take until people start realizing what is happening? Another 30 or 40 years? Must we wait until people start dying? And understand, his story is one of at least dozens. People losing their memories, joint stiffness, loss of coordination. With one current miner saying, we forget stuff. 100% of us forget stuff. But even hearing that, this situation could be much bigger. And that's because it's believed that many cases may be overlooked due to the language and culture barrier, as well as the fear of the mining companies. With one of the major mining companies in South Africa saying there's been absolutely no cases of manganese poisoning in their labs, with them also disputing the diagnosis of manganism in 10 of its workers at a smelting facility. But notably, they're saying that after an inquiry from the South African Labor Department found that they created a hazardous work environment and failed to tell their employees of the potential danger. So far, analysts say there's been little to no discussion between manganese suppliers and automakers regarding the potential health risks. Instead, talking about their concerns regarding whether supply of high-purity manganese will meet the demand, with one battery research analyst saying, the focus is on how to meet demands in a way that is cost-beneficial. The more worker-focused questions and concerns are lower on the food chain. Also, I know at this point I've said manganese at least 11 billion times. Also important to note, there are other issues surrounding the components needed for EVs. You have bauxite, for example, which is used to make aluminum, and analysts say aluminum will see 119 million tons in annual demand by 2030. But in Guinea, which is the largest reserves in the world, hundreds of square miles of farmland have now been acquired for mining operations. And human rights advocates say that the locals received little or no compensation for it. You also then have to consider cobalt, with demand set to increase 20 times over by 2040. And there, 70% of the world's cobalt is mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and 15% of their mines are unregulated. And with that, the U.S. Labor Department estimates anywhere from 5,000 to 35,000 children are working in these unregulated mines, with some as young as 6 years old. And all that in addition to the environmental concerns about mining nickel in Indonesia, the top producer of the metal in the world. And even there, that is in addition to, I think, what's gotten the most focus over the years, the issues surrounding lithium mining across the world. Now, with this whole situation, I'm going to link to more resources down below, deeper dives. But where I think it's important that I end this story is on this final note. The point of me talking about this today isn't to say, like, we shouldn't be going green, we shouldn't be going electric, but rather, as we go step by step each day towards a more electric world, we need to keep these things in mind. The very real problems and the very real costs that are part of this pipeline. Some of the issues may be solved with things as simple as, higher safety standards, protective equipment, not having 6-year-olds mining, whereas others may be solved through the advancement of tech. With Ambrose Evans Pritchard, for example, world economy editor over the Daily Telegraph, writing, batteries are already being made that no longer require cobalt. And going on to claim by late decade, we will start to see solid-state batteries that are 4 to 6 times more efficient, and saying so efficient that they can run on sodium instead of lithium for routine runabout cars. But again, if changes are not made, there is a very real human cost that's happening right now while you're watching this video. But hey, that's the situation. Now you definitely know about it, and I'd love to know your thoughts in those comments down below. And then you might be looking at another supply chain crisis, because dock workers on the West Coast have been slowing down or stopping port operations altogether for nearly 2 weeks. And that because the union, the International Longshore and Warehouse Union, and the Pacific Maritime Association, which represent their employers, have yet to come to an agreement regarding wages for their new labor contract. And that's actually been going on for a while, with the two parties being locked in negotiations for more than a year now, with their old contract expiring last July. And reportedly, negotiations were actually going pretty well until the week of May 29th, when wages were brought up. And since then, they've been at a standstill, with dock workers withholding labor, either by drastically slowing down or not showing up at all. The these disruptions have hindered and hampered the operations of these ports, which are some of the busiest trade gateways in the country, which has led to tens of thousands of containers full of goods floating offshore. So with this situation, you have retailers asking the Biden administration to step in to find a resolution between the union and the PMA, saying in a statement, thousands of retailers and other businesses depend on smooth and efficient operations of the ports to deliver goods to consumers every day. And, we knew the White House had been monitoring the situation, but also this week, the Department of Labor confirmed that Biden's acting labor secretary is in talks with the union and PMA to help broker a deal. However, very key thing, there is reportedly a very big gap between the union's expectations and the PMA's offers, with the union president saying, "We aren't going to settle for an economic package that doesn't recognize the heroic efforts and personal sacrifices of the ILWU workforce that lifted the shipping industry to record profits." Right, what the union's pointing to there are the reported $500 billion in profits the shipping industry made over the last 2 years. And with that, saying that dozens of dock workers died during the pandemic to keep cargo flowing through the ports. It really seems like each side has a very different idea of the state of the ports right now. But the PMA is saying in a statement over last weekend that the Port of Seattle was forced to close due to the labor disruption. But you also had the union the same day saying that the port operations were continuing with business as usual and claiming, despite what you were hearing from PMA, West Coast ports are open as we continue to work under our expired collective bargaining agreement. And the big reason that we're talking about all this is if this dispute continues and there are serious consequences in the supply chain, especially as there are reportedly about $5.2 billion worth of shipping containers floating outside California ports, this could be devastating. With a Vizian CEO, a company that tracks container shipments,